Some have said that there's no concern like a mother's concern. But is it really helpful for parents to worry? We're going to talk about that next on the Celebrate Kids podcast.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Don't let them rain on your spark. Keep it close to your heart. All of the pressure's gonna drive you crazy.
There are so many things for parents to worry about, especially in a digitally connected world. And more studies come out talking about the dangers and the reality for health for many young people. These studies do nothing to quell the fears of many parents. And in fact, for some, it puts us in incredibly dark places. But we know that dark places are there for a reason. And in many cases, it shows the brightness of the glory of God. And that's what Dr. Kathy is going to help us focus on today. So let's turn now to Dr. Kathy. So Dr. Kathy, there's a new report out that says that about 40% of U.S. parents are extremely or very worried that their children will struggle with anxiety or depression at some point. The Pew Research Center is the one that did this report, and they said that mental health was the greatest concern among parents, followed by bullying, which worries about 35% of parents. But these concerns trumped fears of kidnapping, dangers of drug and alcohol, teen pregnancy, and even getting into trouble with police, which are all kind of physical realities. But parents seem to be more concerned with these non-physical realities of anxiety and depression. So I know that it's natural that kind of fear guides us, right? Like I go to the Grand Canyon and I'm inspired by awe, but my fear of falling probably dictates how I participate in the Grand Canyon, right? I don't walk right over the edge and say, man, this is amazing. Right. But there's a role that fear kind of plays in our life. How should fear play into how we interact with kids? And should it have any guiding effect? Or is fear kind of always a bad thing? What are your thoughts there?
I haven't thought about this in a long time. It's not always a bad thing. It is, I think, almost a gift from God that alerts us to the dangers around us, whether it be the fear of falling or I know myself, I've been some places and I get a sense that there's someone nearby who's unsafe and I become more alert to the surroundings and I maybe wait longer for a friend before I walk down a darker hallway. The fear, that inward understanding that something's going on around me probably saves lives. So let our kids know this is what you're feeling and it's legit. Now, if you got a scaredy cat and they're always fearful, then, you teach confidence and you teach about security and other things. But in a general sense, I think it's, I would never want to say to a child, you should never be afraid. I think that's very foolish reasoning. Your example is totally legit. I don't like roller coasters, so don't even put me near one. I could go on and on about that. It's just, and it's okay that I don't want to go on one. I don't have fear for others, but I don't need to go on one. And it's okay that I don't want to. And don't make me feel, weak and immature because I don't. So I think we can have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, I love that because I don't know if that's a trait that I want to have in myself, that whenever somebody's screaming that I want to run towards that thing and get on it, right? Whatever's making them scream is for a reason. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. But question.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this next question because I think that there's a lot of things that kind of press down on us and cause us really to worry about our kids. And as parents, I think that can kind of even dictate how we lead our children to growth and development. And so what would you say about how our fears kind of impact our kids? And is there anything there that we should be mindful of?
That's a great question. I would not want a mom or a dad or a grandparent raising children to be so fearful all the time that they, can't open the door. They can't, let their kid, sit on the front porch alone and finish an ice cream cone or, to wave at a neighbor or whatever. So let's make sure that we're not overreacting to things, that we're not, treating our kids so fragile, that we're not treating the people around us like everyone here is evil with evil intent. That's certainly not the case. But to teach our kids realistically, be alert. I remember that I'm so old. I remember Halloween candy and you could eat it on the way home, after picking it up. And now there are parents who don't eat anything that's in your bag. We're going to, inspect it all there for a season. You can take it to the hospital for a free x-ray. I mean, I remember the day when, oh my goodness, no, you just live life happy-go-lucky. And we're not in that space and that place anymore. So be alert, be aware. And I would also say, how often have your fears become real? If you are fearful and you are brave, you will make a list of bad things that have actually happened. And you'll see that in the last, 21 days, Everything's been fine. My child has not been approached by a stranger, et cetera. My child has sat in the front yard and no car has come careening toward her. And so I'm going to let her sit out in the front yard. Let's keep a record of what's real and what's false. Maybe that would be helpful.
This leads me to really the reason for what we're talking about here, this Pew Research Center report, that mental health kind of is a thing. And I remember Walt Mueller, who's kind of a forefather in youth ministry. He said to a group of people once that I was in, he said that there's this pressure on today's young people that's incredibly extreme, that there's things like sports and grades and keeping parents happy and all of these different things really weigh down on young people. And it's natural for us to see this in our kids and then to worry about their mental health. So what steps can we take to move really from kind of this just fear of where our kids are at to some proactive, engaged processes, maybe for adults who are actively working to care for young people? How can we move from fear to action specifically with this topic?
Right. Again, what is reality? I'm really glad that parents and others who are involved with children would be aware of mental health crisis. We are in a really difficult place in some ways, and there are more children than ever before with legitimate anxiety and stress and suicidal thoughts, and the dropout rate's just extreme. So let's pay attention to that. If you feel like your concern is legit because you have a child who is not handling anger well, is not handling grief well, is fearful and therefore getting bullied and picked on, and school is really a dangerous place for your daughter because she's been kind of labeled as an easy target, then be preemptive before something more serious happens. And counseling and therapy are really wise decisions, and getting help as a family is really wise. Making sure that you're available so children can talk to you when they're concerned and they don't have to Google, something about a solution to an issue, but instead they can say, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, I was wondering about this. So if we're really legitimately concerned, let's do something now. And then I would also say, how legit is your concern? Is your child strong? Just because a neighbor kid is going through a tough time doesn't mean that yours will. Kids are resilient. Not everybody is treated the same. So maybe being alert to reality and intervening as soon as you need to and letting your kids know, I'm here for you. You're not alone here.
Those words from Dr. Kathy are really helpful and really encouraging for us. And it's something that I think Peter also gave the early church. This is what Peter writes in 1 Peter chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. To the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's suffering, who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive a crown of glory that will never fade away. In the same way, you who are younger, submit yourself to your elders. All of you, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another, because God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. These words from Peter to the early church are a guiding light for us in dark times, because Peter's call for them is to care for those who are under their care. And it's the same way for us as parents, that as we watch and guide young people to pursue who God has created them to be, it's our goal to drive them to an understanding of who they are in Jesus. And at the end, there's a call for us to cast all our anxieties on him, because God cares for us and God cares for those that are under our care. And that's an incredibly bright light in a dark time. And we hope that this podcast is a bright light for you in dark times. And if it is, would you share it with some friends? And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like us to address, we'd love to get an email from you. You can send it to ask@ignitethefamily.com. That's ask@ignitethefamily.com. For all of us here at Celebrate Kids with Dr. Kathy Cook, my name's Wayne Stender, and I want to say thanks for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.